Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with Vicky Karabanova. She is a zookeeper at the Oakland Zoo, which is a member of the California Conservation Society. And she's here today to tell us a little bit about what she does, what it's like working with animals, and how zookeepers play a role in the bigger scientific collective. Thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so can you just start by telling us what kind of science you do?
Yeah, sure. So the kind of science that we do at the zoo is zoological science and conservation science.
Cool. And can you tell us what those things are?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
So as far as zoological science, it basically means that we take care of a collection of wildlife that is at our zoological facility, and we make sure that their ultimate welfare is most important, highest that it can be. So we're always improving, always learning, always trying to make sure that the animals in our care get the best care possible. And as far as conservation science, our institution works with a lot of conservation partners around the world. And we make sure that we not only support them, monetarily, but we actually send our keepers and our employees out into the field with those partners and help them do things like, put radio collars on cats or put cameras out in the wild and help them analyze that data. So really looking back at our collection and how they are helping their wild counterparts all over the world.
Cool. So, and is kind of the driving force between that? Is it mostly about like learning how to provide like a better life and experience for animals at the zoo, or are you also using the animals at the zoo to kind of drive research and learn more about wildlife and stuff as a whole?
I would say all the above.
Okay,
yeah, the more
cool.
we learn about the wild animals, the more that we can improve our care of our zoological animals. So it all kind of comes together, which is really amazing with conservation science. Is, like I said, the more we know, the better we do. And as far as helping animals out in the wild, that's always going to be our number one role, is helping to, make sure we know what's going on as far as populations of animals that are decreasing and why, and, is it habitat destruction? Is it limited resources? And what can we do as a human species to help them out?
Absolutely. That's super cool. Can you,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, do you have like an example of something you guys have learned or something cool or interesting?
Yeah, for sure. I can actually tell you a little bit about, so last year in 2019, I traveled to Panama, into the jungles of Panama, which is amazing, also very difficult. If you can picture like the most humid environment, and you're trekking through the jungle, your feet are wet because you're just walking through a bunch of different water sources. But I went out there to primarily help one of our conservation partners that works with the Oakland Zoo, Karabanova. And what their primary mission is to help jaguars in Panama. Yeah, so there's not a lot of research done on the jaguar population that travels through Panama, but there's a big biological corridor there. So not just jaguars, but all of the other species, prey species that, the jaguars might be hunting. Or really just a lot of diversity that travels through that space. And what they're trying to do is put some camera traps out and learn more information about all of the animals traveling through. So I went out there and helped them set some traps, change some batteries, and really learn about the work that they're doing and how that's impacting, animals all over the world.
Oh, that's super awesome. Did you guys learn anything cool? Have you learned anything interesting from that experience yet? Or anything?
Yeah, so something that they took away from as far as Panama goes, because they have, like I said, such a humid environment. And what they're going through a lot is they have rainy seasons, but the rainy season changes every single year. Well, that they are learning is impacting the behavior of the jaguars as well. So in rainier seasons, they're hearing a lot more vocalizations from those jaguars, and they tend to be very territorial. So you won't see them traveling together. They're not social. They tend to be very solitary. But the vocalizations are typically associated with territorial calls or finding a mate.
Oh,
and when the rainy season is longer, they're finding that's happening a lot more often. So,
I wonder why. That's a cool.
Hopefully, we'll find out.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Every question leads to more questions. It's awesome.
Exactly.
Cool. And then, so what's it like when you're not trekking through the jungle on giant adventures? What is like a day-to-day kind of experience of someone doing your job?
Yeah, of course. So when I'm not trekking through the jungle, I'm just trekking through the Oakland Zoo. So I actually work up the California Trail, which is our newest expansion at the zoo. And it's mostly focused on animals either native to California that used to live there, that once roamed the area, or that are still actually in the area. So we have a lot of really cool species. But my day to day is anything from checking on the animals in the morning to preparing their diets to doing some training sessions with positive reinforcement so that they can basically participate in their own health care, teaching them
Okay.
behaviors like blood draws or weighing, things like that. Taking data and actually analyzing behavioral data is a big part of my day too. And then really just making sure that their welfare is the highest it can be. And one of those ways is with enrichment. I'm sure you've kind of heard that word thrown around, but enrichment basically means that we're focusing on these animals, how their activity budgets would be in the wild. We're trying to get that same activity budget in our zoological collection. So say a jaguar, sleeps a certain amount of hours in a day or is hunting a certain way. We're going to want to replicate a lot of those behaviors. So we're focused on the natural behavior of the species. So enrichment comes into play a whole lot.
Oh, that's cool. So that's kind of where that like overlap between the wild study and kind of the domestic.
Exactly.
Oh, that's super cool. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. And then these next two questions, you can take them in whatever order you want. The first one is, what's your favorite thing about your job? And then what's the thing you find most challenging about your job?
Favorite thing about my job, I have to say, is how gratifying it is. Because when you work in sciences, it's always unpredictable. Like you said, you're always
Absolutely.
asking new questions after answering other questions. And I would say that, watching our conservation programs all over the country actually and the world actually come to fruition, like with, for example, California condor population just, really exploding and becoming much healthier in California. We are working side by side with a few different partners like Ventana Wildlife Society, Pinnacles National Park, to actually tag California condors. We bring them into the zoo if they need any kind of lead poisoning treatment, which is a big factor as far as their population numbers decreasing a long time ago. But just watching how their numbers are increasing, if you go on to Ventana Wildlife Society, they have a live video of nests. So condor nests and how, those chicks are doing and how they're being raised. But all that information is really cool to see that, what we have been doing and what we are still doing is truly making an impact on that species. And that's just one of,
awesome.
so many species.
One of many.
So it's really gratifying. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so what are the challenges?
So, with any job, especially in science, like you said, it's unpredictable. But I think the hardest part about working with animals is that you do lose animals. Either, if they're geriatric, if they're passing away from old age, or if, suddenly they get sick and we try our best to treat them and get them to a better point of health. You don't always succeed, and that's really hard because you form relationships with these animals that you work with every single day, that you take care of, that you see sometimes from, being born to the end of their life. It's really hard. So I would say that's probably the biggest challenge is getting so attached to a lot of these individual animals.
Having to deal with that.
Yeah.
It's really profound. Okay. Well, this is it got me a little bit. Okay, cool. I'm going to focus on my job. No, it's good. It's good. That's real, man. And then, so for like high schoolers and younger people who are watching this, if they have interest in doing something like you're doing, like what are the steps? How do you get to work in a zoo? Like what education do you need? Are there internships you should be pursuing? Are there people you should be talking to?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say the most important thing is getting a degree in some kind of biological sciences. Personally, my degree is in marine biology because I worked with marine mammals for about 7 to 8 years before I moved into all terrestrial animals. But a degree in zoology, animal science, even psychology. So
Oh,
animal
interesting.
behavior is really important because that's all encompassing of what we do. And getting hands-on experience, I would say, is the second most important. And you can do that starting from high school and so
Mhm.
on. Hands-on experience could be anything from, interning, like you said, or volunteering at a zoo, an aquarium, even an animal hospital or
Mhm.
shelter, just because a lot of that hands-on experience with
Yeah.
animals, can be used in so many different ways. So I would definitely say those are really important.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. And then
Mhm.
for just in general, for like young, not people who are looking to specifically go into zoology, but just young people and young scientists in general, do you have any life advice?
uh, just be patient and be ready for the unexpected. I mean, I absolutely love working in the sciences. It's amazing and it's so gratifying and it's so challenging. But it's a big part of it is you have to stay dedicated and you have to be patient because you might not see anything that you do come to fruition until 5 to 10 years later or even more. And I'm sure a lot of scientists would agree with me. Sometimes you take data and that data takes a long time to analyze, and then getting your answers can take even longer. So I would say be patient and stay dedicated.
Awesome. Well, perfect. Well, thank you for talking to us today. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you.
Um, Kids, if you have any questions, feel free to send them directly to me, drop them in the comments, and I will forward them on for you. Thanks for being with us here today. Have a great day.